It all began on a cold spring evening in Braunau am Inn, Austria, on April 20th, 1889, when a child was born who would later leave one of the darkest marks on human history. His name was Adolf Hitler. From the very start, his life was filled with contradictions, humble beginnings, and lofty ambitions, fragile dreams and destructive obsessions. Growing up as the son of Alois Hitler, a strict and authoritarian customs officer, and Clara, a deeply devoted and gentle mother, young Adolf experienced both discipline and affection. His childhood was marked by illness, frequent moving, and clashes with his father, who wanted him to pursue a bureaucratic career, while Adolf dreamed of becoming an artist. His fascination with drawing and painting began early, and he often spent hours sketching buildings, landscapes, and people. However, his academic performance was inconsistent. Teachers described him as intelligent but lazy, and his rebellious spirit often clashed with authority figures. When his father died in 1903, Adolf became more independent, and when his beloved mother passed away in 1907, the loss devastated him and left him directionless. Still holding on to his artistic dream, he applied to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, but his applications were rejected multiple times. Those failures were a bitter wound that changed his path forever. He stayed in Vienna for several years, living in poverty, selling small paintings and postcards to survive. During this period, his worldview started to shift. He developed strong nationalist feelings, was exposed to anti-Semitic and radical political ideas, and his resentment began to grow. Later, he moved to Munich, Germany, seeking a fresh start. When World War I broke out in 1914, Adolf volunteered for the German army. He served as a soldier on the Western Front, where he carried messages between trenches. He was wounded and temporarily blinded by a gas attack. For his service, he was decorated with the Iron Cross. The war was a defining period for him, giving him both purpose and a sense of belonging. But when Germany lost in 1918, Hitler felt betrayed and humiliated. Adopting the belief that the nation had been stabbed in the back by its enemies from within, after the war, he returned to Munich, restless and disillusioned. He joined the German Workers' Party, soon transforming it into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazi Party. With fiery speeches, charisma, and a gift for oratory, he attracted followers. His ability to stir emotions with words became his most powerful weapon by the early 1930s. Through political maneuvering and mass propaganda, Adolf Hitler rose to power, eventually becoming Chancellor of Germany in 1933. His regime established a dictatorship, crushing opposition and launching campaigns that targeted minorities, especially the Jewish people. His obsession with racial purity and territorial expansion led to policies that plunged the world into the devastation of World War II. In private life, Hitler was known to be a vegetarian, abstained from alcohol, and had a disciplined lifestyle. He was deeply interested in art, architecture, and classical music. He admired grand designs and dreamed of reshaping cities into monumental visions. His fashion sense was consistent and recognizable: sharp uniforms, tailored suits, and a carefully maintained image of authority. Despite his public persona, his personal relationships were limited and secretive. He never married until the final days of his life, though he maintained a long relationship with Eva Braun, who adored him despite his emotional distance. Friends described him as moody, sometimes charming, but often consumed by his mission. As the war turned against Germany, his health and mental state deteriorated. He became increasingly paranoid, isolated, and withdrawn, relying on a shrinking circle of loyal followers. In April 1945, with the Allies closing in on Berlin, Hitler retreated to his underground bunker. On April 29th, he finally married Eva Braun in a brief and modest ceremony. Just one day later, on April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler ended his life alongside Eva. His death marked the collapse of the regime he had built and the end of one of history's darkest chapters. Adolf Hitler's story is a complex one of a man with dreams of art who instead brought destruction, of someone who sought power, but left behind ruins, of a life that began with ambition and ended in tragedy. His legacy remains a chilling reminder of how dangerous hatred, unchecked ambition, and absolute power can become. Dear viewer, thank you for joining this journey through history. If you found this story engaging, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Ahead lies much more fascinating content that you will not want to miss.